Recently, I had one of my toughest days in Albion Online. I went out with a build I was genuinely excited about, one I had real success with before. That day, I was sure I was going to get my kills in, successfully contest objectives in the open world, and make a lot of profit once more, only to end up dying 5 times within my first hour. Watching back every single death, the conclusion was obvious. I wasn't following my own Black Zone survival rules, the exact ones I'm going to walk you through today. If you watched my previous video on solo roaming Black Zones, this is the follow-up. That video was about getting out there. This one is about staying alive once you are. And before we get into it, accept this now. You will die in Black Zones. That is not a failure. That is the game. The goal is not 0 deaths. The goal is better decisions on every single run. Before you even enter the Black Zone, you need 2 things locked in. Your goal for the roam and a build that actually supports it. These are not the same thing for every run. If your goal is pure PvE, solo camps, clearing mobs, farming fame, you want a build that clears fast, has sustain, deals enough damage, and has 0 downtime. If you go into PvE content with a PvP focused build, you will clear slowly. Slower clears means more time exposed. More time exposed means more chances to be seen, heard, and jumped while you're already low from fighting mobs. If your goal in the open world is survival, if you primarily just want to make it out alive and build confidence, your build needs mobility, utility, and ideally some form of invisibility. Things that give you a real chance of creating distance, escaping, and disappearing. In the open world, mobility is king. Utility is second. Damage is somewhere further down the list than most people think. Whatever your goal is, set it before you leave the city. Then take the right weapon, the right armor, the right cape, the right mount, and the right consumables for that goal. I'll cover capes and consumables in a dedicated guide. But the principle is simple. Every slot on your character should be serving the same purpose. Now, regardless of your goal, the build you take needs to be one you can afford to lose. Not just once, at least 20 times over. Efficiency matters, but what matters more is making solo roaming sustainable. Because you will die at some point, and it could be sooner than you expect. On that note, get used to dying. If that means running a 4.1 set for your first 50 roams, do it. Only upgrade when you feel more comfortable, have more confidence, have made real progress, and can actually afford it because your capital has grown. Don't rush higher tier gear. It will only work against you. The Black Zone is an experience you build up over time, not something you buy your way into. If you haven't sorted your build yet, I have a video covering one build for every single weaponry in the game, all designed for solo roaming. Once this video is done, go watch that one before your next roam. Pick your favorite build between them, and you'll be set. They all work. Link is in the description. So you're in the Black Zone. Build sorted, goal set. Now what? Let's talk about what actually keeps you alive while you're out there. Once you're in the Black Zone and doing PvE content, the #1 rule is simple. Never get low. In the Black Zone, being low health is not an inconvenience. It is an invitation. Any player who spots you on low HP will engage immediately because the kill is basically guaranteed. You are a split second away from dying at all times out there. See it like that. So when you're clearing mobs, focus on dodging. Take as little damage as possible. Don't pull too many at once. And if you get overwhelmed, reset them. Mount up, create distance, let them walk back, then re-engage. And always keep your mount in range. It is your #1 escape from a bad PvE situation that could turn into a PvP situation where you have a massive disadvantage. Use food with health regeneration if you are doing PvE throughout your run. Catfish, Avalonian stew, anything that gets you back to full health the moment mobs are dead, or reset. Never go into the next pull low. Also, match the tier of content to your gear. If you're in a 4.1 set with low specs, don't attempt tier 8 camps. Stick to tier 5 and 6. As your specs build, as mob patterns become familiar, as the content starts feeling natural, only then move up. Going in above your level means heavy damage, very little damage dealt back, and you'll be low health constantly. Which brings us straight back to the first rule. Now within your PvE run, you have a decision to make about your abilities. You can switch to abilities that make clearing faster and more efficient. Or stay on your PvP setup with mobility and utility. How do you decide? Look at the player counter. If the zone feels empty and safe, optimize for speed. Clear fast, spend less time exposed, reduce your window for getting jumped. If there are numbers on the minimap and you feel like you could get dived any second, stay on your PvP abilities and be ready. Because if the dive comes, it will come without warning. And then there's one specific rule for solo boss lairs. When you enter, wait for the lair to close before you start the boss. It closes 90 seconds after you enter and a message will appear on screen confirming it. Do not start before that message. Solo boss lairs are very recognizable from the outside and players check them constantly. If the lair is still open when you start, there is a real chance someone walks in and kills you mid-fight. Now PvE discipline is one thing, but what about the moments in between? When you're moving through the open world, that is where a lot of people get caught. When you are moving between objectives, between zones, between anything, you are at your most vulnerable. Covering distance in the open world means exposure, and exposure means a chance of getting ganked. So while you are moving, stay on your mobility, defensive and utility abilities at all times. Not your PvE setup, not your damage setup, your escape setup. Because the moment you get jumped, your only priority is getting out, and you need those cooldowns available immediately. On that note, never waste cooldowns, especially your boots. Your boots are your most important mobility tool and the one that covers the most distance in an emergency. A misused boot cooldown can cost you your entire set. Don't use abilities out of boredom, out of habit, or out of curiosity. Every cooldown is a resource, and in the black zone, you treat it like one. Never be overweight either. Being slowed by carry weight in the open world is one of the worst positions you can be in. If you plan on gathering or doing heavy PvE, take a mount with carry weight like a riding horse. If you find yourself overweight mid-roam, switch your boots passive to carry weight. It helps in most situations. And if you really need to, drop the heavy, low-value items. You don't need to bring everything back. Getting out alive matters more than an extra stack of resources. Every time you enter a new zone, make a mental note of where the escape options are. Smuggler dens, Roads of Avalon portals, mist portals, you don't need to use them, but knowing where they are means that when you are in a bad situation and need to move fast, you already know which direction to run. You don't want to be figuring that out under pressure. And don't be curious around objectives. Don't linger near chests or resource nodes that aren't ready yet. Don't stand next to something waiting for it to activate. Keep moving, scout around it. Make sure the area is as clear as possible before you commit. The moment you stop moving in the open world, you become a target. All of that keeps you alive in the moment. But there is a bigger picture question that most people get wrong, and that is knowing when to actually leave. This is probably the most important section in this entire video, and also the one most people ignore until they've lost a run they didn't need to lose. Don't overstay. Once you have loot in your inventory, you are no longer just risking your set. You are risking your set plus everything you've earned. At some point, the right move is simply to go back, secure what you have, and go out again. Here is how to think about it. Compare your gear value to your inventory value. If your set is worth 50k and your inventory is sitting at 500k, you should have reset long ago. If your set is worth 700k and your inventory is 100k, you probably have more roaming to do. It is not a fixed number, it's a ratio. And the question you are always asking yourself is, am I comfortable losing all of this right now? If the answer is no, reset. You can go straight back out. Resetting is not quitting. It is the discipline that makes long-term roaming profitable. On the topic of getting back, you have two options: your save portal or journey back. Most of the time, your portal is the right call. But if getting to it feels dangerous and the risk of covering that distance isn't worth it, use journey back. Yes, you lose a cut of your silver, but securing 90% of your gains is always better than losing 100% of them. Also, think about time. If you've roamed deep and need to walk back 10 zones to reach your portal or the city, ask yourself honestly whether that walk is worth what you'd save by not using journey back. Sometimes the most profitable decision is to pay the fee, port out, and go again immediately. Time is money in this game, and time spent walking back is time not spent earning. And don't greed. Don't feel entitled to things in the open world. If there is a chest you cannot realistically contest because you're solo and there's a full group on it, don't contest it. If you are in a 1v1 and the person clearly counters your build, has much higher IP, and you stand no real chance, walk away and do something else. Greed and ego are the two biggest reasons people die in the black zones. Not gankers, not bad builds, greed and ego. All of that is about managing yourself once you are already in a situation. But the best players avoid bad situations entirely, and that comes down to reading the zone before things go wrong. Surviving the black zone long term comes down to one skill more than any other: reading what is happening around you before it becomes a problem. Start with the player counter. Every zone shows you how many players are in it. If the number is high and there are no objectives to explain why those people are there, that is a red flag. No chests, no events, a lot of players. That is very likely a ganking squad. Turn around, take a different route. There is plenty of content elsewhere. If you do go in and start spotting players, inspect them. Look at their builds. Learn to recognize what a ganking setup looks like. Grail Seekers, Claws, double-bladed staffs, high mobility builds with crowd control. These are not PvE builds. If you see 2 or 3 players from the same guild with ganking setups and the zone is showing 15 to 30 people, there are almost certainly more of them spread out across the map. At that point, leaving is not retreating. It is the correct decision. Pay attention to guild names throughout your roam too. Learn which guilds in your region are dedicated ganking guilds. If you've spotted multiple members of the same guild in the same zone or even across different zones, that is information, and you should use it. Same goes for hideouts and territories. If a zone has a hideout belonging to a specific guild and you are seeing their members around, they may be very active in that area. They could be in a party, and reinforcements could be one screen away. Factor that in before you decide to engage anyone wearing their tag. Learn the map over time. Certain zones are known for ganking. Certain choke points get camped consistently. Plan your routes ahead of the roam, not during it. And be aware that weekends are a fundamentally different experience. On Friday, Saturday and Sunday, there will be more players online, more organized groups and more ganking activity. If you're new to black zones or just want to minimize risk, consider doing other content during peak hours on those days. You have plenty of options: faction warfare, instance content, depths with a couple friends. All of them will still make you silver and progress. You don't always have to be in the black zone, and when you do go during those times, maybe bring someone with you instead of going alone. And speaking of knowing when not to be in the black zone, there is one last thing I want to cover, and it has nothing to do with the game itself. This last one gets ignored almost universally, and it costs people more silver than any mechanical mistake. If you are having a bad day, a couple back-to-back losses, nothing going right, every decision feeling wrong, stop forcing the black zone. Swap to instance content where the numbers are fair and you know what to expect. Do some non-lethal content. Go do something else the game offers. Coming back fresh is worth more than grinding through a session where your head isn't in it. Same goes for being tired. The black zone demands constant attention. You don't know what is coming or when. If you can't focus at full capacity today, the black zone will punish that. Tired? Other activity. Bad runs? Other activity. There's no shame in it, it's just smart. The players who survive and profit consistently in black zones are not the ones who grind the hardest. They are the ones who know when to go, when to reset, and when to stop. That is everything. The build discipline, the PvE awareness, the movement habits, the risk management, the zone reading, and knowing when to just swap activities. And honestly, that bad day I told you about at the start, every single one of those deaths came down to something on this list. The rules are not complicated. The hard part is actually following them when you're in the moment and your ego wants to make a different call. If you haven't watched the previous Black Zone video yet, go watch that next. This video was the depth layer. That one is where it all starts. And if you are brand new to Albion Online, the fast start guide is the place to begin. Link for both is in the description. Remember to have fun, and I'll see you in the next one.